The phone lit up on my kitchen counter at exactly 6:42 in the morning. I was standing there in my boxers and an old Iowa State t-shirt, waiting for the coffee to brew, when I saw her name flash across the screen. Sarah, my wife of 14 years. I picked it up, expecting maybe a good morning text, maybe a reminder about picking up something from the store on my way home. What I got instead made my blood run cold. Plans changed. You're not coming on the cruise. Emily wants her real dad there instead. I read it once. Before we dive in, I need you to do something for me. Hit that subscribe button right now, because this story is going to take you on a journey you won't forget. Drop a comment telling me where you're watching from, and let me know if you've ever go through this situation. Trust me, by the end of this, you'll understand why that question matters. Then twice, then a third time, like maybe the words would rearrange themselves into something that made sense. Something that didn't feel like a knife sliding between my ribs. The coffee maker beeped behind me. I didn't move. I just stood there, staring at those 21 words that had just blown up my entire existence. Outside, I could hear Mrs. Patterson's dog barking 3 houses down. A car drove past. The morning sun was coming through the kitchen window, hitting the family photos on the wall. The ones where I'm standing just slightly outside the frame, hand resting on Sarah's shoulder. Emily smiling in front of us. I want you to understand something right now, before we go any further. This isn't just a story about a text message. This isn't just about a cruise or a marriage falling apart. This is about something deeper. Something that maybe you've felt too, if you've ever been the person who pays the bills, shows up every single day, keeps the whole damn machine running, only to discover that you were never really part of the family. You were just funding it. My name is William Hartley. I'm 47 years old. I sell agricultural equipment across eastern Iowa, and for 14 years, I thought I was building something real. I thought I was creating a home, a life, a legacy. I thought when Sarah looked at me and said, "We're a family," she meant it the same way I did. I was wrong, and by noon that same day, everything I thought I knew about my life, about loyalty, about what it means to be a father to a child who isn't biologically yours, all of it came crashing down in a way I never saw coming. But here's what they didn't expect. Here's what Sarah and Emily, and especially Rick Donnelly, Emily's biological father who'd been absent for most of her childhood, here's what none of them counted on. They thought I'd just take it. They thought I'd swallow the hurt, accept my demotion from father to funding source, and quietly fade into the background while they sailed off into the sunset on a cruise I'd paid for. They were wrong, because by the time that cruise ship left the dock in New Orleans, I'd already made a decision that would change all of our lives forever. A decision that would teach them the hardest lesson anyone can learn, that you can't build a life on someone's back and then kick them aside when someone more convenient shows up. This is the story of how I lost my family and found my dignity in the same week. This is about the moment I stopped being a doormat and started being a man who knew his worth. And if you've ever felt invisible in your own home, if you've ever wondered if you're just an ATM with a pulse, then you need to hear what happened next. Because what I did wasn't about revenge. It was about respect. And by the time Sarah and Emily came back from that cruise, laughing and posting photos with Rick like he'd been there all along, they walked into a reality that taught them something they should have learned a long time ago. Some doors, once you close them, don't open again. Let me take you back to the beginning, to the moment everything changed, and show you exactly how a single morning destroyed a marriage and built a man 14 years earlier. I'd met Sarah at a friend's barbecue in Bettendorf. She had this smile that made you feel like you were the only person in the room, even though we were standing in a backyard with 30 other people. She was recently divorced, raising a 12-year-old daughter on a receptionist's salary, living in a cramped apartment near downtown Davenport. She told me about Emily that first night, about how her ex-husband, Rick, had checked out of fatherhood the moment things got hard. How he'd show up once every few months with promises and excuses before disappearing. Again, I fell for Sarah fast, but I fell for Emily harder. That kid had this way of watching people, like she was always calculating whether you were going to disappoint her or stick around. The first time I met her, she barely said 5 words to me. Just sat at the kitchen table doing homework while Sarah and I talked in the living room. But the second time, when Rick had promised to take her to a movie and didn't show, didn't call, didn't even text, I found her crying in her room. I knocked on the door. She didn't answer. I knocked again. Emily, I said through the door. You want to get ice cream? Long pause. Then, why? Because your mom's working late and I don't want to eat ice cream alone. Makes me look pathetic. She opened the door. Her eyes were red. She looked at me like she was trying to figure out if I was real or just another adult who was going to let her down. We went to Whitey's Ice Cream on Locust Street. She got mint chocolate chip. I got butter pecan. We sat in a booth by the window and didn't talk about Rick. We talked about her math homework, about how her teacher was unfair, about how she wanted to try out for volleyball but was scared she wasn't good enough. You're good enough, I told her. And even if you're not yet, you will be. That's what practice is for. She looked at me, really looked at me and said, You mean that? I don't say things I don't mean. That was the moment. That was when I stopped being Sarah's boyfriend and started being something more, something I didn't have a name for yet. 6 months later, I moved into Sarah's apartment. A year after that, we got married in a small ceremony at the courthouse. Just us, Emily and Sarah's mom. No big reception, no fancy dress. Just vows and signatures and a promise. I meant with everything I had, I'm going to take care of both of you. I'm going to show up. I'm going to be the man you can count on, and I was. For 14 years. I was that man. When Emily needed braces, I paid for them. When she got into Iowa State and needed a car, I dipped into my savings and bought her a used Honda Civic with only 40,000 miles on it. When she called at 2 in the morning, during her freshman year, because she'd locked her keys in her dorm room, I drove an hour and a half to campus with the spare set and didn't complain. Once I taught her how to drive. I helped her write her college essays. I was there on move-in day, hauling boxes up 3 flights of stairs while Rick sent a text that said, Good luck, kiddo, with a thumbs-up emoji. Sarah used to tell me all the time how lucky she was, how Emily was lucky, how we were a family, a real family, and it didn't matter that Emily and I didn't share DNA because love was thicker than blood. I believed her. God, I believed every word. So when I stood in my kitchen that Tuesday morning, staring at that text message, the first thing I felt wasn't anger. It was confusion, because it didn't make sense. None of it made sense. The cruise was supposed to be an anniversary trip. 14 years of marriage, a celebration on the Mississippi River, one of those paddle wheel boat cruises that Sarah had been hinting about for months. She'd left brochures on the kitchen table. She'd circled dates on the calendar. She'd even picked out the cabin, the one with the balcony, because she wanted to watch the sunset over the water. I'd set up the automatic payment 3 months ago, $5,000 charged to my account in 3 installments. Sarah had kissed me when I showed her the confirmation email and said, This is exactly what we need. Just us reconnecting, remembering why we fell in love. Just us, not Rick Donnelly. But here was the text. Cold matter of fact, like she was canceling a dentist appointment. You're not coming on the cruise. Emily wants her real dad. Set the phone down on the counter and walked to the window. My hands were shaking, not from anger yet, from something else, from the feeling you get when the ground disappears beneath your feet and you're not sure if you're falling or if the whole world just shifted without telling you. Real. Dad, that's what broke me, not the cruise, not even Sarah choosing Rick over me. It was those 2 words. Real dad. Like the past 14 years had been pretend. Like every soccer game, every parent-teacher conference, every late-night talk when Emily couldn't sleep. Like all of it had just been me playing dress up in someone else's life. I heard the coffee maker hiss and pop as the last of the water burned off. I didn't pour myself a cup. I just stood there, watching the maple tree in the front yard shake in the wind. Leaves scattering across the driveway like they were trying to escape. My phone buzzed. Again, another text. This one from Emily. Please respect our space. Rick is part of this family now. Now, like he hadn't been part of it for the first 18 years of her life. Like he hadn't missed birthdays and holidays and every single moment that mattered. Like showing up when the hard work was done somehow. Earned him a seat at the table I'd been setting for more than a decade. Picked up the phone. I started typing a response. Then I stopped. Because what could I say? What combination of words would make them see what they were doing? What argument could I make that would suddenly inject fairness and gratitude into people who'd already decided I was disposable? I deleted the half-written text and set the phone face down on the counter. That's when it hit me. Not anger, not sadness, clarity, crystal clear. Cold water clarity. They didn't see me as family. They saw me as a function, a paycheck, a support system that existed to make their lives easier, and then got out of the way when someone more appealing showed up. I was the understudy, who'd been playing the lead role for 14 years, and now the real star had decided he wanted his part back, and everyone just expected me to step aside, smile, and applaud from the wings. I looked around the kitchen, the house I'd bought, the mortgage I'd been paying for 12 years, the appliances I'd replaced when they broke, the roof I'd had reshingled 2 summers ago. Every inch of this place carried my signature, my sweat, my money, and Sarah thought she could just text me out of it. I walked to the spare bedroom, the one I used as a home office. I opened the filing cabinet and pulled out the property deed. There it was, black and white. William Hartley, my name, only my name. Sarah's name wasn't on it because we'd bought the house before we got married. And when we did marry, I'd never gotten around to adding her. It wasn't intentional. It just never seemed important. We were married. What's mine was hers, right? That's what she always said. Your money is our money, William. We're a family. I sat down at the desk and opened my laptop. The first thing I did was pull up the cruise confirmation. There it was. Payment made in full. Departure date, 4 days from now. I looked at the cancellation policy. No refunds within 7 days of departure, but I could transfer the ticket. Clicked Manage Booking and started typing. Passenger change request. Remove William Hartley. Add Rick Donnelly. It felt like carving my own name off a tombstone. I hit Submit. Then I opened a new tab and searched for real estate attorneys in Davenport, Iowa. By 9 o'clock that morning, I was sitting in the office of Patricia Chen, a real estate attorney whose reviews praised her for being efficient and unsentimental. Her office smelled like coffee and old paper. She was maybe 50, glasses perched on her nose, looking at me over the rim like she'd heard every story and wasn't impressed by any of them. I handed her the deed. I want to sell my house, I said. She glanced at the document. You married? Yes. She know you're doing this? Not yet. Patricia leaned back in her chair. Where is she right now? About to leave for a cruise. The cruise you paid for? I didn't ask how she knew. She just looked like the kind of person who could read a situation in 30 seconds. Yeah, I said. She tapped her pen against the desk. Legally, you can do this. House is in your name only. But emotionally? This is going to be a nuclear bomb. I know. You sure you want to do this? I thought about Emily's text. Please respect our space. I thought about 14 years of showing up, of being the dad Rick never was, and how easily they'd erased me the moment he decided to play family. Again, I've never been more sure of anything in my life, I said. Patricia nodded. Then let's get started. By noon, I had a real estate agent. Her name was Karen Whitfield, and she specialized in fast sales. I met her at the house an hour later. She walked through every room, taking notes, nodding, tapping walls. When she finished, she turned to me and said, I can have this listed by tomorrow morning. If you price it right, we'll have offers by the weekend. How fast can we close? If the buyer's serious? 2 weeks, maybe less with a cash offer. Do it, I said. Karen hesitated. Your wife isn't on the deed, I finished. And she made her choice. Karen studied me for a moment, then nodded. Okay, let's make this happen. That night, Sarah called. I didn't answer. She called again. I let it go to voicemail. The message was exactly what I expected. Her voice tight, annoyed, already on the defensive. William, don't make this into a thing. Emily just wants her dad there. Her real dad. You understand, right? This doesn't change anything between us. Call me when you've calmed down. Calm down, like I was a child throwing a tantrum instead of a man who'd just been told he wasn't family anymore. I didn't call back. Instead, I sat at the kitchen table. The same table where Emily used to do her homework, where Sarah and I used to have breakfast on Saturday mornings, and I let the weight of it settle into me. Not rage, not even sadness anymore, just a deep, bone-tired certainty that I'd spent 14 years building something that was never really mine, and now it was time to stop pretending. The house sold in 6 days. A young couple, Jason and Melissa Torres, both teachers at Davenport Central High School, first-time homebuyers. Pre-approved loan. They loved the neighborhood, the big backyard, the updated kitchen. I'd renovated 3 years ago. Karen called me on a Thursday afternoon. They want it. They're offering asking price. Can close in 2 weeks. Tell them yes, I said. William, you're sure? Tell them yes. I signed the contract that night. Sarah and Emily were somewhere on the Mississippi River, posting photos on social media. Sarah in a sundress, smiling. Emily with her arm around Rick. Both of them holding drinks with little umbrellas. The caption read, "Finally, the family trip we always deserved. Always deserved. Like I'd been keeping them from it. Like I hadn't been the one making it possible. I turned off my phone and poured myself a whiskey. They came home on a Tuesday. I wasn't there. I'd moved into a rental apartment near the river 2 days earlier. Small place, 1 bedroom. Just enough space for me and the things that actually mattered. I'd left everything else behind. The furniture, the photos, the life I'd built with people who never saw me as permanent. Karen texted me at 3:47 p.m. They're at the house. It's happening. I was sitting in a diner near Muscatine when I got the message. Halfway through a plate of eggs and toast I wasn't really tasting. I set my phone down and stared out the window at the parking lot. Imagine Sarah pulling into the driveway, tired from the trip, suitcase in the trunk. Emily in the passenger seat scrolling through her phone. Both of them talking about the cruise. About Rick, about how nice it was to finally be a real family. Then, Sarah trying her key in the lock, the key not working, the confusion. Then the panic. My phone rang. Sarah's name lit up the screen. I let it ring. It went to voicemail. 30 seconds later, it rang again. Answered on the 4th ring. William. Her voice was breathless, sharp. What the hell did you do? I took a sip of coffee. It was cold now. I sold the house. Silence. Not the thoughtful kind. The stunned kind. You what? I sold it. Closed last week. You can't do that. That's our home. It was my house, I said quietly. You just lived in it, William. This isn't funny. I'm not laughing, Sarah. She started talking fast then, the way people do when they're trying to rewrite reality in real time, about how I was overreacting, how this was insane, how Emily didn't mean it like that, how I was being selfish and cruel, and how could I do this to them? I didn't do anything to you, I said. You did it to yourself. Rick is standing right here, she hissed. Like that was supposed to make me feel something. He thinks you've lost your mind. Good, I said. Tell Rick. I hope he enjoys paying rent. I hung up. The phone rang again immediately. I powered it off. Emily texted me 2 days later. Just one line. I didn't know you'd actually do it. I stared at that message for a long time. Then I typed back. I didn't know you'd actually mean what you said either. But here we are. She didn't respond. The lawsuit came 3 weeks later. Sarah filed through an attorney, claiming I'd illegally disposed of marital assets. The hearing was set for November. In Scott County Court, I showed up in a pressed shirt and the same blazer I'd worn to our wedding. Sarah showed up in heels that clicked too loud on the courthouse floor. Emily was with her. Rick wasn't. Funny how he disappeared. Again, when things got complicated, the mediator was a woman named Patricia Yates, gray-haired, reading glasses on a chain. She read through the complaint, then looked up at Sarah. Mrs. Hartley, whose name is on the property deed. Sarah hesitated. His, but we were married. Was your name ever added to the deed? No, but did you contribute financially to the mortgage? Sarah's face flushed. I contributed to the household. That's not what I asked. Silence. Patricia turned to me. Mr. Hartley, do you have documentation of mortgage payments? I slid a folder across the table. 12 years of bank statements. Every payment highlighted. My name. My account. Patricia flipped through it without comment. Then she closed the folder and looked at Sarah. I'm sorry. Mrs. Hartley, legally your husband had every right to sell that property. There's no case here. Sarah's lawyer started to argue. But Patricia held up a hand. We're done. Outside the courthouse, Emily caught up with me. Dad, William, wait, I stopped, turned. She looked smaller than I remembered. Or maybe I just stopped trying to make myself fit into spaces that didn't want me. I didn't know, she said quietly. About the money. About everything you did. Mom didn't tell me. I know. I shouldn't have said what I said. I looked at her, really looked at her. And I saw the kid who used to cry over math homework. The teenager I drove to campus. The person I'd loved. Like my own blood, even though we didn't share it. But I also saw the adult who'd chosen Rick over me without a second thought. Emily, I said gently. I don't want an apology. I want you to understand something. You can't build a life on someone's back and then act surprised when they walk away. She nodded, eyes wet. I loved you, I said. I still do. But love without respect is just labor, and I'm done working for people who don't see me. I walked away. She didn't follow. That was 8 months ago. I'm sitting in that same diner now. The one near Muscatine, eating eggs and toast that actually taste like something. The river's visible from here if you look past the parking lot. It's low this time of year, rocks showing their backs. Water moving slow and steady. I rebuilt my life piece by piece. Sold equipment, saved money, started dating again, a woman named Claire who teaches history at the community college and doesn't expect me to be anything other than who I am. Emily texts sometimes, short messages. How are you? Thinking of you. I respond, but I don't rush to fix things. Some bridges once burned need time to rebuild, if they rebuild at all. Sarah moved in with Rick. Last I heard, he lost his job and they're struggling. She hasn't reached out. I don't expect her to. I learned something in those 14 years. Something that cost me a marriage and a family but gave me back my dignity. You teach people how to treat you. And if you accept being invisible, being taken for granted, being the wallet with a pulse, that's exactly what you'll be. I stopped accepting it. I walked away from people who saw me as optional. And I built a life where I'm essential. Not because of what I provide, but because of who I am. And if you're sitting there right now, reading this, feeling like you're the only one holding things together while everyone else takes and never says thank you, I need you to hear this. You're not crazy. You're not selfish. And you're not wrong for wanting more. Dignity isn't loud. It doesn't scream or throw tantrums. Sometimes it just packs a bag, signs the papers, and walks away. And the people who thought you'd never leave, they learn real fast what they lost. This is William Hartley, signing off from somewhere near the river, breathing easier than I have in years. If this story meant something to you, if you've ever felt like the understudy in your own life, share it, pass it on, because somewhere out there, someone needs to know they're not alone, and they don't have to stay. Sometimes, the bravest thing you can do is close the door and build something new.